Well, it's either Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day, depending on where you fall into the political divide and how we are discussing today, which is October 11th, Monday, 2021. I've got a couple figures. You see my bar here. You can't quite see these, but two of my more prized possessions on my bar. I've got this carving of a Bolivian indigenous hunter. And this is, of course, General Buford, cavalryman hero of the Battle of Gettysburg. And it's interesting just because his uniform, I had him next to my Bolivian indigenous hunter. And it sort of gets the dichotomy. People come over to my house, this whole, the colonialism versus the natives. It just generates that discussion. So I want to talk about this. So by the way, if you don't know me, my name's Tom Coyle. I'm really passionate of history and looking at things and trying to be objective here. And so I'm going to do a little deep dive into Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day. What happened, looking at the Western civilization, this interaction with the native cultures, and try to take a little middle ground here and put things in perspective from history. Because frankly, human civilization was brutally evil. That's just the way it was. So, obviously, 1492, Columbus lands in the New World in the Caribbean. He thinks he's in India. So, he doesn't even realize he's in a new world. That was Amerigo Vespucci who came up with that. Hence the term America comes from him. In fact, if you want to get some have a contentious debate as the holiday season comes up here, argue that the first Native Americans were not the indigenous. The first Native Americans were the founding fathers, because the indigenous in America were Iroquois, Apache, and Sioux. They were not Americans. The Americans were Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, etc., the founding fathers who broke away from England and formed the United States of America. So technically, they were the Native Americans, if you want to get a little contentious there. Because, again, the natives did not see themselves as Americans. America, the concept, was a European concept. So let's sort of look at, first off, what happened. And a lot of today, we look at the evils of Columbus and what he did and the enslavement of peoples, and people accuse him of genocide. But now let's put things in perspective. When the explorers came to the New World, particularly in the the Mexico and South American regions, what did they see? Human sacrifices, killing of children, offering up people to the gods. That's pretty barbaric. You would say, oh my God, these people are, they need to be reformed. That's what you would see, because that's what they did. They were evil. And my whole thing about this is, look, I'm all about re-examining our history, but let's not pretend these were these peaceful native peoples and here come the evil Europeans. Humanity was evil. And everybody has been a conqueror. Everybody's been conquered. The Roman Empire conquered all the peoples around them, including Europeans, the French, known as the Gauls of the time, and the Germans, I can't think what they called those, the Germanic tribes there. They subjugated them, enslaved them, and that's what the Romans did, and that's what everyone did. Alexander did the whole, he built his empire, enslaving people on the way. And guess what? The Aztec Empire and the Mayan Empire. Yeah, take a minute and think, how did they become empires? Oh, that's right, because they subjugated all the tribes around them. In fact, one of the reasons Cortez was victorious against Montezuma is he had the help of a native female who later married his son. Her people were being massacred and exterminated by the Aztecs. So she saw these Europeans, hey, this is our way, let's align ourselves with these guys. And they told the real stories, maybe even exaggerated a bit, to get the Spanish on their side. Same thing with the Mayans, same thing with the Incas. They subjugated people around them. Shaka, I love Shaka. He was I studied him, his military tactics, when I studied ancient military warriors, but he subjugated tribes around him. That's what he did. Now we remember him for his victory against the European powers, but he also subjugated and enslaved his fellow tribesmen, his fellow African tribesmen. That's what he did. That was the reality. And human history is evil. I'm not justifying it, but you have to have this perspective. You can't demonize Columbus without demonizing the Aztecs, the Mayans, and the Incas. They did the same thing. Europeans just happen to have guns and disease. And let's tie it to Afghanistan. Obviously, earlier this year, we saw the fall of Afghanistan, people trying to understand Afghanistan. Humanity at our core, we're very tribal. And when you came to the New World, these tribes, take the United States of America, you had the Sioux, the Apache, the Chippewa. They were fighting each other. Okay, they'd have wars, they'd make peace, they'd have wars, make peace, just like tribes do in Afghanistan today, absent a foreign invader. And then when the Europeans came, some of the tribes who had been getting the crap kicked out of them said, hey, these guys with these magic sticks, the guns, they could help us kick the crap out of this tribe. And that's what they did. And a lot of times, especially when we first came here, it was a lot of a decentralized movement, just explorers claiming land. Now, again, before we kind of formed the United States, 13 colonies, even we were just a hodgepodge. The European explorers had their different settlements. You had Jamestown, you had Plymouth, but they weren't necessarily aligned together. And you'd see a group come there, and one tribe comes, hey, come help us kick the crap out of these guys. We'd do that. And maybe another group of Europeans comes, and they, oh, yeah, help us kick the crap out of this tribe. The French and Indian War in the 1750s was exactly that. It was tribes, okay, this tribe aligned with the French, let's kick these British colonists out, and then the British colonists go, okay, let's align ourselves with these other natives. We're like, hey, this tribe's kicking the crap out of us, let's join with these British colonists, and this is what it was. They were using us, the French and the British, for their own goals. And eventually, they became to be used by the European, the French and the British respectively, but initially they were using them. Not unlike the Cold War, when there's a civil war, one side's losing, and maybe the U.S. Embassy is nearby. Hey, we're fighting communists. Oh, here you go. Here's all your money made. Or, oh my God, we're getting our crap kicked out of us. Oh, let's go to the Soviets. Hey, we're with you guys, And they go, oh yeah, here you go. Your money made. They may not really care about the agendas, and we saw this time after time. We saw it time after time, and they had their own agendas, and they tried to use that for outside support. Sometimes it backfired more on the outside power. Sometimes it backfired more on the indigenous power, but these things happened. But make no mistake about it, slavery was happening in the New World before the Europeans arrived. Human sacrifices were taking place. These things are objectively evil. So when we celebrate Native Peoples Day, we are also celebrating evil people. So pick your poison. Now for me, I'm just glad I have a day off. Well, depending on who you work for, but some companies have to have a day off on Columbus Day. So I don't care what we call it. Just keep my day off. I mean, hell, we had a day off on Bin Laden's birthday. I'd be, whoa, don't take away my day off. whoa, what are you doing there? Hey, that's a day off. I mean, Bin Laden's a bad guy and all, but hey, whoa, what's my day off? Yeah, I need those vacation days. I need that day. No, seriously. So, I mean, and then, of course, we've been raising lately some questions about slavery and institution. Yes, an evil institution, but slavery was a global phenomenon. I mean, the first slave comes from the word Slav. The Slavic people were the first slaves of the Greeks, at least in recorded Western history. Slavery happened. And, slavery occurred in Africa because one tribe kicked the crap out of another tribe and enslaved the losers. Then as Europeans were exploring Africa, like, oh, they saw a way to make more money. Hey, we'll sell you these people. This is what we do. We basically make them work. You can have them work for you. And people go, ooh, I can make some money off of this. And that's, basically what happened. You see it today. Nike, LeBron James, they don't care about slavery in China because they make money off of it. Well, the same thing was happening there. Ooh, I can make some money off of this. And African tribes were just as much of a party to it as the Europeans because they made money. And it was Africans who conquered and captured and sold the losing African tribes into slavery. And slavery exists in parts of Africa today. In fact, in this trend of beating up the West, let's not forget it was the West. It was the first civilization to ban, outlaw slavery in the United States, fighting a war to end slavery. The West, the first civilization to end slavery. That is fact. So when you talk about the fact that, yes, the West was, we had slavery. It was evil, but we were also the first to end it. Must be noted. And we look at civilizations today. Western civilization is the most advanced civilization. It offers the most opportunities for the most people. Go in a non-Western country and criticize the head of state. See how long it takes before the warlord's henchmen kick down your door or the dictator throws you in the gulag. That's what happens outside of Western, European, American, Canadian society. or the countries like Japan and Singapore, which grew out of the colonial powers, who now have Western mindsets. Basically, when you look at the G8 countries, minus Russia, that's what we're talking about. And one thing with 9/11, we had the 20-year anniversary this past year. Well, not this past year, this year, 9/11. And guess what? Something else is very interesting. I find that people are wearing headscarves to show solidarity with Muslims in America. But, the reason you wear the headscarf is because, according to Islam, if women don't cover themselves or dress modestly, they tempt men to rape them. So you're actually embracing the opposite of Me Too culture when you do that. Fun fact. Also, name a country that considers itself a Muslim country first, where women have equal rights. Where is that country? Yeah, no. West, for all of its faults, right now is still the best civilization. Offers the most opportunity to most people. Ways to advance out of a career. So many people from India come to the United States. India, the largest democracy, but still your caste defines who you are more so than anything else in America. In America, we do upward mobility better than any other nation. I've used this example in other videos before. Name one country in the world, one other country where the equivalent of Barack Obama gets elected once, much less twice. I mean, a white Moroccan couldn't get elected in France. A white Turk couldn't get elected in Germany, much less a person of color. And twice. Not saying we don't have any problems. We have plenty. I'm saying we have to have this perspective and look around the world and add things in a relative sense to understand, like, oh, okay, there's perspective. Perspective. And it's good to learn about things. And yes, we should look at the evils of Columbus. And he did some things that were evil. But it's not a zero-sum game where Columbus was the evil guy, the Spaniards were the evil guy, and the indigenous were the good guys. No. Trust me, read into indigenous culture, and you'll find they did things that you would objectively find as being evil. My last thing I want to touch on Hawaii. Hawaii is an interesting case study because, a lot of things that sort of came in recently. When surfing became a competition in the Olympics this year, there was an AP article saying, oh, it's more cultural appropriation. And it started doing, and then a lot of articles started coming in talking about the history of Hawaii and the conquest. I use conquest in quotes because it wasn't conquest in Hawaii. It was a greedy king. See, the king is revered among the natives in Hawaii. But here's the thing. This king, once upon a time, thought himself on par with the European royalty. And he wanted the European royalty lifestyle. But like most royals, he realized, I don't produce anything. Nothing's changed. Look at the British royals. What do they produce? Nothing. So he's like, I don't produce anything. I don't have any ways of generating wealth other than selling my land. Which is what he did. He sold his land at ridiculously high prices to Europeans and Americans. Made a lot of money. Maintained his lifestyle. But then Americans end up owning the land and the power. Because he sold them out. And this is so much of royal history is like this. Royals sell off their lands to build alliances, keep their power, keep their lavish lifestyle. And that's what happens. So the king who is revered in Hawaii, the king, I can't remember his name. I had it down there, but I've drawn a blank on it. But guess what? He sold the land. He sold out his people to maintain his lifestyle. He should be hated. He's the reason why Hawaii is the 50th state. And let's make no mistake about it. You're better off as part of America than anything else. That's just a true story today. So anyway, told this to be a little bit long, and there's some things I've simplified, skipped along the way, but I think it's worth touching on this because I think we make this mistake of saying this good guy, bad guy, zero-sum game, especially civilization. Every culture has been a conqueror. Every culture has been conquered. And that's just what human history did. We've moved forward, fortunately. I mean, just look at what we did in one generation. I mean, World War II generation is still alive. This is a generation that napalmed cities. They firebombed cities. The bombs fly over Berlin, just drop bombs, killing innocent people. Now we go out of our way to avoid killing human life excessively. We avoid trying to kill civilians. It's an evolution, and we keep getting better. And we have to be careful when we hold people to the standards of the day-to-day. Yeah, Columbus was evil by the standard of today, but he was no different from the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Incas, other than the fact that he came with guns and they didn't have them. And that's about the only difference. Because otherwise the Mayans might have sailed across the ocean. They didn't. So they subjugated those around them, enslaved them, and treated them with brutality. human sacrifices, massacres, genocide. That is what they did. Anyway, celebrate Columbus Day, celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. I don't care what you call it. Just keep my day off. But I hope I've given you some perspectives to think about. Jumped around a bit, but if you like this video, let me know in the comments. If you think I'm full of it, tell me that too. Let's have a dialogue. This is what I like. I like engaging people. Bring up something I didn't bring up if I'm wrong. And if I'm right, let me know what you like about it. Thank you. Have a great day.